Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Craig Peliquin.
And I'm Dennis Wilson.
And we are here to share a little bit about Small Business Dream and our newest addition to the family, DeliveryBizConnect.
Yeah, so we just wanted to sort of share the history of how through COVID and all of this turmoil, we sort of pivoted from helping small businesses in general with sales and marketing automation under Small Business Dream. And, we were just trying to figure out what could we do that's more COVID friendly. A lot of our clients were coming in and asking for financial support, so our revenues were drying up. And we were like, hey, what could we do that's more COVID friendly to build our business back up? And
DeliveryBizConnect.com was born.
Well, we saw the restaurants were in serious trauma. We saw the 30% the delivery apps costing them. And we just saw there was a big opportunity. We already had some clients in Small Business Dream that were restaurants, so we were familiar with the vertical, and we just started putting some effort into that new direction.
Right, and it all started from a Facebook post of all things. A friend of ours, Rod, who owns Sawbuck's Pub in White Rock, British Columbia, put a post on his Facebook page. This was just after the lockdown had started, so no dine-in services. And his Facebook post basically said, hey everybody, download my new app. It's called the Telephone because I can't afford the third-party delivery apps. They're too expensive, so phone me, place an order over the phone for takeout. So you can pick it up and take it out.
Absolutely.
He wasn't even talking about delivery.
No, he wasn't, and he wasn't interested in the third-party apps because they were too expensive.
Yeah.
And next thing you know it, we had Craig embedded at Sawbucks probably for a month and a half or two even, learning all about the exact ins and outs of the restaurant business when it came to pickup and delivery. And we even tried deliveries a little bit with him at the time. Yeah, so our favorite part about DeliveryBizConnect is by Craig being literally embedded in a restaurant, learning all of the things that go wrong and even just how to lay out a restaurant to have efficient pickup and delivery going on. We just realized that we built not from an IT company perspective, DeliveryBizConnect. We built it from the restaurant owner's perspective and how do we solve the restaurant's problems. So our whole thing over the last 7 months as we've built this has been restaurant feedback, restaurant feedback, restaurant feedback.
Right. Exactly. And that was what it was all about. It was all about us learning what did the owner need? What was the staff missing? What were the things that we could do to make their lives easier during COVID and ultimately increase their sales?
That's right.
And you talked about the fact about doing deliveries at Sawbucks. When we first came up with the idea of the app, our idea was that during COVID, you could hire a driver or get your staff to drive, bring them back with a subsidy from the government, and you'd be able to afford to have your own driver.
And we were positive every restaurant owner on the planet would be so excited about that.
Right. We thought this is just it, and Rod was excited. Yes, I'm going to hire a driver. It's going to all happen. And then we realized the flaw. Well, it's really twofold. Number one, in the busy times, one driver wasn't enough.
That's right.
And in the slow times, one driver was too many.
That's right. That's right.
So there was and the reason that third-party apps work for many of these restaurants is that between that lunch rush and that dinner rush, those 2 hours at lunch and the 2 hours at dinner, that's when they needed 10 drivers.
That's right.
But the other times, one driver would be just sitting there twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah.
And we were at another one of our restaurants that came on board after me canvassing the area for months, walking around, handing out flyers and business cards.
At first, all we were talking about was, hey, enable online ordering and you'll increase your pickup sales 30%. And that was the first add-on we did specific for restaurants. We actually made a mini POS, the ability to do online orders and process all those online orders in an efficient manner. And that was all we were selling at first.
That's right. Because we were in a pub that wasn't using the third-party apps.
Yeah.
So they weren't getting people coming in and inundating and doing that because they refused to do them. So we learned from a restaurant that wasn't getting them. And then we met Jose. We love you, Jose. Jose owns Chihuahua
in White
Mexican
Rock
restaurant in South Surrey. Not quite White Rock.
Okay.
But all right. People in South Surrey say they're White Rock.
Yeah, it's across the bridge anyways. Yep.
And he only phoned me after the third time that I dropped off some information about what we're doing. And he wanted to know how we could help him. Because at that point, he was using the third-party apps not only for delivery, but he was also using them for pickup. He didn't have an online ordering system on his own.
So he was losing the 10 to 15% for pickup orders just because he was using the third-party app. So he was interested initially. We didn't even have deliveries at the time we brought Jose on. He was just interested in the online ordering, contactless dine-in, and the other features, as we had a lot of restaurants interested at that point.
Right.
But what we found was, as we were out there literally handing out brochures and doing everything we can to find a way to restaurant owners, because they're an elusive bunch, they don't seem to exist much online. So we were out handing out flyers, having conversations, trying to learn how we could help. And what we realized is everyone kept saying, well, can you do deliveries for me without charging me 30%? We're like, well, no, you're missing the point. We can increase your sales. Yeah. We can do this. We can give you check-in and check-out functions in the app so you have all your contact tracing for COVID. We can do all of these things, make you way more money, and you can just keep doing what you're doing with deliveries.
Right. And then those that weren't doing deliveries said, look, you can hire your own driver. We got the tech set up. You learned how to do it. You can bring a staff member, hire somebody, and I kept on falling on deaf ears.
It really did.
I was sitting there in Night Chihuahua having a conversation and a taco with Jose. In the course of about 5 to 10 minutes, about 5 different third-party delivery app drivers came in, picked up an order, and left. And each one of them I asked, how many third-party delivery services do you drive for? And they all said, well, usually more than one. So sometimes they only did one, but most of the time, I'd say a large percentage, probably 80%, said 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't get enough work with one, and they just juggled them all.
Yep.
And I asked the question, if I had an app that you could download and drive, and it paid you more than those other apps, would you add that to your collection? And every single one of them said yes. And that's when we realized we found our drivers.
We found a way to do drivers. So then we came up with the concept of trying to be very different because we didn't want to get involved in the money. The disadvantages of third-party apps are all the money goes to the third-party app and whatever they decide is your piece goes back to the restaurant. We thought that was a bit odd. We didn't like sort of the pay schemes and how upset the drivers seemed to be with the third-party app, sort of necessary evil. So we wanted to solve that. And we started to come up with a way to make everything a bit more equitable. Keep the money local, right? Whatever community that DeliveryBizConnect operates in, all that money stays local, being paid to the local drivers, being kept in the restaurants. And we also realized that the restaurants weren't getting their data. So they were reliant forever on the third-party apps because they didn't even know the customer's name. Well, maybe the name, I think, but they didn't know the address, the phone number, no way to contact them. So they're doing all of this. They're giving up 30% of their orders, and they're not getting anything in return. Their business is not growing. Their business is actually shrinking and becoming more dependent on the third-party apps. So we're like, well, wait a second. We're a full CRM made for restaurants. They're going to get the data. We can turn it into automatic follow-up. So we could actually now solve the biggest problem of all restaurants, which is none of them wanted to collect their data.
Right.
Even though they should have it and they all would have made more money during the whole COVID lockdown, it was very hard to convince an owner to get their data. Yeah. Now it's just all automagic.
It is. And one of the things that we learned from being hands-on in the restaurants is what were some of the points that were difficult. So some of the things that we learned from Jose, we got this one from you, Jose. You said, look, I got a small restaurant and people can't stay and socially distance while they make their order. They go outside and wait. Then when their order is ready, I have to go find them. And sometimes I got to walk around for 5 minutes with their order outside looking to see where they are and they're hiding in their car. He goes, it would be great if I could just push a button and send them a text message or something saying your order is ready.
So we built that and it was ready for him the next day. So that was exciting.
That was exciting. The other thing that we learned, and just by watching, is that sometimes you get 3 or 4 skip drivers or Uber drivers or...
Yeah.
Sometimes you get third-party app drivers.
Yeah, sometimes multiple. You get... That's right. You get the same third-party app drivers and you'll have 5 people from the same company.
Right. And they're all sitting there waiting. And we realized 2 things happen. Number 1 is why do they have... If the orders are ready at the same time, we should just be able to get one driver to take all those orders if they're in a close enough proximity to each other.
And if the food can survive it.
Right. So we figured stacking orders would be really important. But we also realized that sometimes they were grabbing the wrong bags, Dennis.
That's right.
And It was confusion who got what. And so we've solved that one right away by having it print out when the order is ready. As the restaurant owner, you hit your tablet saying the order is ready, which notifies the driver, but it also asks you how many bags is your order in. Because we found a lot of times the missing bag was the pop or something else.
Or the utensils.
And it never got taken. So they say, oh, I just made the order. There's 2 bags. They hit that, and the 2 receipts come out with a QR code. And the driver is notified he comes in. He needs to scan both codes on both bags before he can leave, so he knows he has the right bag.
Yeah, and it's really a simple solution. The reality is, until he scans both codes, he doesn't get the address of where he's going. He doesn't get the button to start the navigation. So he's stuck until he scans the right 2 bags.
Yeah.
So a big problem restaurants have been complaining about constantly was the number of mistakes that happened, the number of bags they left behind, wrong one taken. So again, due to the feedback of the restaurant complaining about something the other apps weren't doing, we're like, well, that's not hard to fix, so we fixed it.
And I think we did a great job of fixing it, Dennis.
So do our clients.
Yeah. And so do the drivers, because the drivers find it's really convenient. There's they go in, they scan, they leave. Wonderful.
Exactly. So as we evolved, we started to take a look at the cash flow of the transaction and seeing how all that worked with the other apps. And we realized that the net cost of the delivery could just be a small dollar delivery fee, and all the rest of the money flows through to the restaurant. So the way we pay the drivers and the way the restaurants add the delivery fee on, instead of that all going to a third-party app, it all stays with the restaurant. The money's used to pay the driver. They can choose to subsidize the driver more and have a lower delivery fee. I guess one of the biggest differences we realized was, rather than giving the restaurants no control, like a lot of the third-party apps appear to, we've let them change everything at their own peril, right? If they change things to where no drivers want to drive from because they're not doing some of the cool stuff our app allows them to do, well, then they'll eventually not have any drivers coming. So we've made a lot of the stuff to be a lot more flexible, which comes up to, of course, one of the things that the restaurants love the most is tip splitting.
Right. And that was simply because we saw that when people were placing orders online we'll use Jose's restaurant, they would always place there's a place for a tip, but the only person that you can tip is the driver.
Yeah.
Well, the driver just came and picked up the food and took it there. Now that's important, but there was no way to tip the staff, no way to tip the cook, no way to tip the restaurant, no way to tip the restaurant at all. Mm-hmm. So we added the ability that if a restaurant chooses to, they can add a split tip or a tip the restaurant, tip the driver, or tip both.
That's right.
That has been huge.
And of course, the neatest part of that was even when the cost to the restaurant owner might end up being a little bit more for the delivery because they've brought some in tips with the way the system works, it didn't bother the restaurants because they knew that tip money now coming into the staff was back to the way the restaurant used to be. So it made everyone happy to know that, hey, if I do this order right, we're going to get a piece of the tips. So even if in the overall it added to a bit of subsidization for the restaurant owner was happier seeing it go to the tips because of the motivation it created for the staff, and he tops up a little bit on the order. And in no way, shape, or form ever gets close to 30% within the DBC family. So.
Right. So with all this put together, we finally managed to create what we call a driver matching service.
That's right. We are a delivery driver matching service. The restaurants are connected to the drivers are connected to the restaurants. The payments happen from the restaurant to the driver through our escrow account only, all by a micropayment service. So all the relationship is between the driver and the restaurant. If the driver has a problem, they can phone the restaurant. It's not hidden from them. If the restaurant has a problem, they can phone the driver. It's not hidden from them. Yeah. So everybody has control. I mean, the restaurants are screaming for control. We've given the control back to the restaurant.
And that even goes to customer service, because with the third-party apps, if there's a problem, the customer phones the third-party app. And then the third-party app is to get in the middle of it. In ours, if the customer's got a problem, they can call the restaurant direct and get it handled immediately.
That's right. And that's because the money all resides with the restaurant, right? We get our little piece as a micropayment, but the restaurant's in control of everything. The restaurant controls their own money.
Yeah.
And this is the neatest part about it. We've taken the billions of dollars of advertising that all the other third-party apps are spending, and that goes to where? I don't know, maybe it goes to New York for a PR company, and eventually some trickles back to a local news station. I'm not really sure. I just know that billions and billions of dollars go out. And it's crazy. They're charging this 30% that's hurting the restaurants, yet they're still losing money.
Right.
So where's the insanity end? So we just take that, the multiple billions, and we keep it with the restaurants, with the drivers, and in the local community.
Well, and it's different, Dennis, because we're not out promoting customers to download our app.
Correct.
This is the big difference. So we're reverse. We're going to talk to restaurants first, and then getting them and showing them how to get their existing customers that are using the third-party apps to stop using those apps and go directly to their website and place an order or download their version of our app and skip the third parties.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's really skip the third parties. The reality is third parties are always fantastic for lead generation. Anyone would pay 30% of the first order for a new lead. So they're still super vital to the restaurants, and they have a very, very interesting and necessary place. We're just making sure that when a customer's coming back for the quality of the food and the liking of the service, that the restaurant isn't giving up 30% to get a customer back that's technically theirs. They came back because they liked the food.
Yeah, exactly. And the ability to be able to market to them, to talk to them, to have your own app. All the things that people want to have for convenience is there. And we get the word out through word of mouth, through talking.
That's right.
I mean, that's the greatest thing. We added a simple affiliate program, Dennis, so that drivers can introduce other drivers to the app, and drivers can introduce restaurants to the app, and restaurants to drivers, and restaurants to restaurants. And we just created a wonderful, simple affiliate program that allows everybody to get a piece of the deliveries.
Yeah, and even everybody who refers their friend to the app also has the ability to earn a little bit for bringing a new customer to a restaurant. So we've closed the loop. We've made it something that helps the restaurants. They get the data. They get everything they need to reinvite people. It spreads organically. The restaurants want their customers to be on the app because it makes their life easier. It increases their sales dramatically by having a mobile app for ordering. And it's just a better solution for everyone.
That is. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the restaurant is going to pay less. The driver is going to
make
pay
more.
more. And the customer isn't going to have to pay extra prices, because many restaurants have to bolster up their delivery prices to be able to pay for these third-party apps. And ultimately, you, the consumer, are the one that's paying for that.
Yeah. So we believe strongly we've created the better mousetrap, so to speak. We're out there on an absolute mission to help small restaurant owners all around the world. We're multilingual. We can start in any community and support that community almost immediately. And of course, we're also proudly a Vancouver, Canada company. We're happy to help.
All right, so if you want to get more information, go to our YouTube channel, go to our website, give us a call, send us an email, pick up the phone. We're here. We're on the other end when you pick up the phone.
That's right.
We'd love to be able to help save your restaurant.
Thanks for your time.